Okay, this is the second video, 10.1 formative quiz on grade 8 algebra. These are two-step equations with fractional or simply whole number coefficients or integer coefficients. In question 1 it says, in the equation 4x minus 2 equals 10, the simplest way to isolate the variable is to subtract 2 from both sides. Is this true or false? Now we know this is false, because in this equation we would have to add 2 to both sides, not subtract 2, because you want to use opposite operations. So in this case you would want to add 2 to both sides instead. Question 2, the value of x in the equation a negative fifth of x minus 3 is 1 will be negative. Well, in this case we can do one of two things. We can try and do it by inspection, but probably the easiest way is simply to write it out and to solve for x to see if it is going to be a negative answer. So first thing I would want to get rid of is my coefficient, so I'm going to do opposite operations by adding 3. I have a negative fifth of x equals the sum of these two, which is going to be 4. I'm now going to multiply both sides by 5. Sorry, negative 5, not 5. To create a 0 or opposite operations, I'm going to end up with negative 20. So is the value of x negative? Yes, it is. So therefore 2 is true. Question 3, the most efficient first step in the equation 13 minus 5x plus 2 is to subtract 13 from both sides. The answer is false. The most efficient way is to subtract 2 from both sides because your constant is on the right-hand side. It doesn't always have to be on the left. Some people think that whatever number is on the left is what you have to get rid of, but that's not true. Whatever side your variable is on is what you want to get rid of the constant for. So in this case, you would have this, and then you would isolate it from that part forward. But it's not to subtract 13 from both sides. Question 4, to isolate the variable in 4x minus 1 equals 1, you would likely use addition and multiplication. Well, let's just check. So if I had 4x minus 1 equals 1, the first thing I would do is addition. So that's true. And once I got it to this, I'm not going to use multiplication. I'm going to use division to find that x is equal to a half, because 2 divided by 4 is a half. So the answer is false. It's division and, or addition and division, not multiplication. Question 5 is simply a two-step equation. Solve this a grade 7 question. So I'm going to add 2 to both sides. 2x equals 4. Divide both sides by 2, and x will equal 2. In the second question, again, another grade 7 question. I'm going to add 5 to get rid of the negative 5. Negative 4x equals where negative 1 plus a 5 is, which is 4. Divide both sides by 4, and x will equal 1. Some people always confuse 4 divided by 4 thinking it's 0, but it's not. $4 divided between 4 friends is $1 each. In the next equation, we have a fifth of x, and that's important that you read it like that. You can read it one of two ways. If you say x over 5, you are not describing the equation, you are describing what it looks like, which is different than what it says. So what you really want to read this as is a fifth of x, or x divided by 5. Either one of those is better than x over 5. In this case, the constant is plus 1, so the first thing I know I always have to get rid of is my constant by using opposite. So a fifth of x is equal to negative 5. Now I'm going to multiply both sides by 5. Not divide, but multiply, because that's the opposite of division. I get x equals negative 25. Question 8. I'm going to add 2 to both sides to get rid of my constant. I have x divided by negative 2 equals 4. To get rid of a divided by negative 2, I'm going to multiply both sides by negative 2. And x will equal negative 8. Now in this question here, this is a little bit tricky because this time your constant is the first term. So if I was drawing this, I would have drawn a positive 5x and a negative 2x equals negative 11. Right, that's what the picture would look like. 5x minus 2x, or negative 2x, equals negative 11. So the first thing I'm going to do, I would add negative 5 to both sides to get rid of that positive 5. So here I would add a negative 5 to both sides, and I would cancel that out. And over here I would have negative 16. But over here, notice how I don't have 2 left, 2x, I have negative 2x left, as I can see from my picture. So now I'm going to divide both sides by negative 2. and x will equal whatever negative 16 divided by negative 2 is a positive 8. So your answer is x equals 8. And your last question, question 10, this time I put the constant on the right instead of the left, so I'm going to subtract 3 from both sides. I get negative 10x still over here, and a negative 1 over here. Divide both sides by the coefficient, and x will equal 0.1, or a tenth. A positive 0.1, because a negative divided by a negative is a positive.